You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lane. Gardening, it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lane, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And this is the time the mountains of Arizona are famous. Spring can be a little windy. Summer is just hot and rainy. Fall is our go-to time. And this is when your plants say fall is our go-to time. This is when they like to grow. When that rain starts in August into July through autumn, plants just put on tremendous growth. In fact, right now they are putting on tremendous roots. Because after they've grown their top growth, their foliage, the more leaves they put on, the more roots they can produce. And so they're actively rooting right now. This is when you really make them sturdy and strong. You're setting the stage for a larger root mass, which will be next. They'll be able to grow more next spring for you, especially important for young or new landscapes. You want to get them full, mature. So encourage them to grow. You might even fertilize them a little more often when they're younger so they bump up and get that root mass going to them. Right now you're seeing the flowers, the perennial gardens. Now remember, perennials are those plants that come back. So perennial and permanent both start with P. And so you plant them once and you're done. And they just get bigger and more glorious as they mature. So you got peonies, they can grow 50 years or they can live as long as trees. Echinaceas reseed and they keep going. They're wildflowers, blanket flowers or gaillardia. They're wildflowers. And so these are plants that produce, you kind of spend a little bit more money for them, but you get years of enjoyment out of them. The investments in perennials, annuals, they live for a year. So annually, just 1 year, and then they die off in the winter typically. And so but they're glorious. I mean, nothing blooms like an annual. But some of the new perennials of autumn are showstoppers. They put the annuals to shame with the colors, the intense, vibrant colors, the textures, the size of the flower. We've got a new Ito peony just came in. Itos are not Ito peony. That's Mashudos hibiscus. Sorry, I had my perennial on the brain. So I've got Mashudos hibiscus. This is a tropical looking. So you folks from Hawaii or the southern, the tropical areas, you love your big hibiscus. The flowers are as big as your head. That's this one, but it's hardy for the mountains of Arizona. So it's a true perennial. That is, it's up about hip high. It gets about 3 foot high, 3 foot wide, kind of a beautiful mounding shape. It's got a lacy type of foliage to it, but then the flowers emerge this time of year. The flowers are as big as your hand. They're huge and they're consistent. They always do this every late summer through autumn. You can count on it. Nothing else is quite like this. Now, it is a perennial. That is, it will die back to the ground. So it's not like our Rose of Sharon. Rose of Sharon is it's a hardy hibiscus. That's a shrub form. This one actually is a perennial. So it grows at 3.5 feet all in 1 year. And then it puts on these massive flowers. And then it will hibernate underground for the winter. Then it comes back and does it all over again. So usually in January, February, March, somewhere in there, late winter, you're pruning this thing back, fertilize it, and it comes right back and does it again. You only find these at a garden center in summer through autumn. So it's late summer. They're just showing up now. So this is the time to plant them for years of enjoyment. It's just kind of a unique flower. We've had hibiscus all spring, but they're the smaller flowers. This is that massive tropical. You just want to, it's just beautiful. Nothing's like it. Another one that comes up is your Crocronia, which is a bulb that is fluorescent in its color. I mean, it is so bright. The foliage stands up hip high, and then the flowers hover above that, and they are covered in flowers. The hummingbirds are just going nuts over the flowers. You only find this time of year. It blooms every year, this time of year through autumn. Then it hibernates underground. You cut it back and it starts over again next spring. That's the beauty of perennials. And so you've got all kinds of varieties coming up. New lilies showing up. We have a new heuchera or coral bells. It's got black foliage. I mean, it's super cool. I mean, black, usually it's greens and gold, fuchsias and reds, purples, but black, oh my gosh, you put that with some brightly colored flowers like echinacea, it just pops. It just really, really looks good. It's fun to design with flowers of autumn because they just look so, it's just so easy. If you do container gardens, let's say your apartment or you're renting and you've got containers on your patios or your decks, that kind of stuff, this is the time of year you're out there enjoying the weather this time of year. You want some pretty things to kind of come or to dress up or to decorate your container gardens. This is the time you put them in. The first of the fall mums, pansies, vegetables all showed up this week. They're in full. It's time to start putting your broccoli and lettuce and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and all the other fall crops. It's time to put your pansies and violas, kales, and your mums. The mums are garden mums. Now, there's different types of mums. So you need to be aware of this as a new gardener to hear. Hardy garden mums, they like the cold. They need to be reset by the cold. And so they'll hibernate underground, and you'll usually keep the mums. They'll be in bloom through autumn. They'll kind of go kind of straw colored, and they'll keep that way through the winter, through the start of winter. Usually by January, sometime the snow kind of beats them up and they start laying over and they get ugly. That's when I start weed whacking them, just whack them right back as close as I can to the ground that's comfortable. And then they'll hibernate underneath there and they'll start emerging again in March. They start growing, but then they bloom this time of year. Your greenhouse mums don't do that. Greenhouse mums if they're grown in a greenhouse, they're not hardy. They're made for florists. They're made for weddings. They're made for not for your garden. They're made for inside. Enjoy them, then you throw them away. Garden mums are meant to enjoy it inside, outside, anywhere you want them. I have big pots right by the front door because they're just so glorious. And then I go plant them out in the yard out there later. I want to enjoy the flowers right here. So we had some that came in there in a big cachet pots. They're monsters. Garden mums. They were grown outdoors, not in a greenhouse. They're exposed to our wind, our sun, or our weather. They're grown outdoors. Then you can put them out there and they just adapt really well. There are so many buds on this like 3 to 4 foot across mum. I mean, it is awe-inspiring, covered in flower. You can't see the foliage. It's so magnificent. That's what autumn can do. That's autumn. This is when plants love to show off because they can show off. It's not as hot. If they were to do this in summer, they could do it, but it'd only bloom for a day and then it'd be done. They're waiting till the days get a little cooler so they can bloom longer. I mean, they're just like people. I'm not going out there in the sun for what? Are you kidding me? I'm going to wait. Just kind of hold things together. Then I'll start blooming when the heat is off. And that's what your flowers are doing right now. Echinaceas, there must be a dozen varieties. It's wild. I can't believe all the new colors. In fact, if you want to see all of this year's colors, I was at our test garden. So we plant all of these plants and test them out in full sun. I want to see how long they bloom, how many bugs get after them. Do the bunnies eat them? How do the colors wash out in the sun? Do they hold up straight in the wind? So I was at the test gardens and I took a video. Hey, you want to see what all the bright colors are? This is where we get our seed or our cuttings from. And then we test them. This time of year, we get to see what they're like. And then we go, okay, we're growing that one and that one and that one. And we're going to bring those in and we're going to have those available for customers here at Watters Garden Center. Well, I took a video and just kind of showed you what there's. Agastache did that with them. The geraniums. Oh my gosh, there's some beautiful new colors. I was just teased. We've got a new purple hydrangea coming. I don't think it's going to make next year, but for sure 26. We've only got 100 plants. You got to take cuttings from these, and it's just not quite enough to really get it going. But by 26, it's going to be pretty exciting. I got a picture of that at the farm. So anyway, if that's of interest to you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I mean, it just kind of seems like Facebook's more friendly to stuff. TikTok is pretty good too. So you follow us on those and you'll see some of the new plants coming out for next year and what they look like this year. Okay, we got a lot in store for you. Lisa Watters Lain coming in the studio right after this. Hi, Kenneth Watters with our Monster Monsoon Sale, our only sale of the year.
Truckloads of fresh autumn maple, aspen, and spruce have just arrived, and we need room, so summer plants must go.
Perennials, trees, shrubs, even pottery must go, and it's worth your while with plant sales at 25, 45, even 65% off.
It's Watters' only sale of the year at Watters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Where people who love great plants at sale prices, they love to shop. And we are back in the studio. We've got Lisa Watters Lain. What is going on there? The giggles are all over.
I just saw myself on the camera. And
oh, don't look.
It's not pretty.
We've got faces for radio. That's what they say. Nah.
Thank you.
If you've been out working in the yard, we're at the garden center. We've got a studio here, and so we've been working it. You jump on a semi all day, and then you jump on here to be fresh and entertaining, exciting. It can wear on you a little bit.
Did I ever tell you about so we have this really nice customer, wonderful man comes in, and usually people get used to seeing me at the garden center and they don't see me other places. And he happened to see me at an event we were at. And I said hi, and I could see him trying to place me.
I'm processing.
And he goes, you look so much nicer when you're away.
That's awesome.
And then he's like,
we dress up nice.
So yes, it's two different looks.
It's a small town, and so you tend to see people at restaurants or churches or kids' soccer games or a band, or you just see them around the community because it's a small town, and it's hard to go. Okay, where did I see them? You're trying to see them everywhere, right. So that's good. That's fun.
So anyways, I digress. Silly story, but yes, this is our question and answer segment, right?
What kind of questions and answers do we have?
Well, let's get started. So Patty says she has a beautiful pampas grass that seems to never really put out a whole lot of plumes. The grass part is pretty, but not a lot of plumes. So her question is, how can she fix that?
Yeah, that's pretty easy, Patty. So pampas grass, they've grown at least 6 feet or more up and wide, maybe even wider. So they put on tremendous foliage growth. And so it takes a lot of energy to pull that off. It's not like they're just growing. You got to fertilize a lot and fertilize often. Here's the insider tip. So pampas grass needs to be fertilized at least 3 times in a year. So Patty, you're going to fertilize at Easter in the spring, at 4th of July, probably really important for pampas grass because they're feeding off that rain and all that new growth. They just go into supercharged mode. So feed them at Independence Day, and then fall. Feed them at that Halloween stage. So Easter, Independence Day, Halloween. Feed them then. But in addition, for you, because you've had you're struggling, you're going to fertilize with all-purpose plant food, 744. It's going to take in that cottonseed meal and bird guano and just go, I am so hungry. Give me more. See more. And so, but in addition to that, give it a handful of super phosphate, 0,18,0. That middle number, that's what causes plumes, especially on grass, flowers, or fruits. Sprinkle some of that at the same time. Every time you fertilize with the all-purpose plant food, give it a handful of superphosphate, and you will have some of the nicest, biggest, the whole plant is going to be covered in these beautiful, fluffy plumes. For you, those of you that don't know what pampas grass is, it's a tall grass, at least head high, and it puts on these gigantic white plumes over the top of the plant. If you don't do what I just described, you'll get thin, wispy plumes, if any. It'll just stop blooming if you don't fertilize enough. And so that's kind of the secret, the insider tip on that. So just fertilize more often. Easter, Independence Day, and Halloween. At the same time, give it all-purpose food and superphosphate, and you will have. And Patty, you still have time. I would say come in and get a bag of all-purpose and superphosphate now, because they're starting to plume. You're starting to see that flower hover above the fall. There's still time. Then it will keep those flowers on there until sometime in January, when the snow kind of really beats them up and start laying down. Then you kind of cut them back to the ground or close to it, and you start all over again.
All right. Watering helps too, like
Yeah,
more
it
good,
does.
consistent watering.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they're just really, and they are drought hardy, but when you want those pretty plumes, you need to increase your water.
Mostly I see folks, they're just, you'll drive down a neighborhood, go, oh, they fertilized. Oops, ooh, they didn't. Oh, they got it. Oh, they've got the flowers, but they're real thin. They're
Yeah.
just they're
Fluffy.
anemic. They should be fluffy as big as your head or bigger.
Or bigger. All right. Next question is from Paul. He says he shut down his irrigation because it seemed like they were getting so much rain.
Yeah.
He goes, he's thinking about getting ready to turn it back on because we've
Yeah.
dried up some. His question is, do you keep the same watering schedule that you did earlier in the
Gotcha.
summer?
Good question, Paul. So turn it back on because rain is very inconsistent right now. We'll see some more rain, but it won't be that 3 inches of 3 inches we had last month, the month before. So it's going to need watering. Yes, you do water the same amount. You never play with how long the irrigation runs. It always runs the same length of time. That just take that variable out of your brain, out of your thinking. What you're playing with is the frequency. How many days can I go before I have to kind of redo it again? So trees and shrubs, you're probably watering right now through October, probably once a week. Good deep soak. Once they drop their leaves for autumn, then you kind of throttle it back to a couple times a month. So, but right now you're probably once a week is good. Then you go to every other week once they lose their leaves. For flowers and things, it's probably more often. So there you can tweak it. We've got a handout here at the garden center. Ask for it. It just tells you exactly how to water lawns, vegetables, flowers, trees, shrubs, roses. Kind of breaks it all down for you.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps a bit. Paul, yes, turn on your irrigation.
Yes, you do need to water.
You do need to water. You'll sacrifice your fall color if you don't do that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Next question is from Jack. He has a maple tree that has very yellow leaves, very chlorotic. He's hit it with iron and he's hit it with our 744. Still pretty yellow. Wants to know, does he have enough time in the season left to turn it around, or is this kind of going to be it this year and work on it next year?
Hey, Jack, so maybe you got plenty of time. They're going to start turning the end of this month, really October. So you got a month to really turn it around. And what's happened is when those maples get real yellow, they start turning fall color too early before everyone else in the neighborhood. That's usually a pH thing. So your pH has crept up too high and it's locked up all the minerals. So the iron is there that you gave it, the 744, it's there, but the plant can't get to it because it's so alkaline. So it's like you sitting in a hot tub and the pH is way too high. And what happens when you get out? It's like your skin wants to itch off. You just want to take a shower. That's how your plant feels right now. So it gets busy trying to itch itself and not. That's a bad analogy. But anyway, pH went up too high.
Yeah, it was,
and you need to lower
it.
Soil sulfur is your friend or your plant's friends. Get a bag of soil sulfur. It's just what it is. It's sulfur. And sulfur hits the water, hits the rain, and it lowers the pH and makes things more acidic. You have to dramatically make that soil around that tree acidic. And so what it is, your water is very alkaline. And that's what's causing the issue. So as soon as you give it some sulfur, lower that pH, all that iron and food you had in there will start activating like now. And so it will bring out more color for this fall. Will it bring out 100%? I don't know. But we're just trying to this is gardening. It's a living, breathing thing. You're making a difference. You're trying, but you will see a difference. But if you keep, I would do that again. Every time you fertilize, add sulfur, and that will turn that thing around for next spring, at least, to really be thick and rich and green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of things are colors are a little washed out this time of year. Even some of the pines, the deodar cedars, are just not showing that real dark green color right now. So it's definitely getting time to feed them again.
If you've got off color, fertilize. I mean, don't wait. Usually we say fertilize in October. Okay, we're 3 weeks away. Just do it now. Do it early so you can take advantage. So you can get that color out of those plants. You can take advantage of our most spectacular season, autumn. Brings out all that rich aspen golds and the reds, the purples of ash. You want to bring that out. It takes more acidic type of soil and some food to pull that off. And so if your plants are talking to you and saying, you know, I don't feel so well, if you don't do something, I'm going to go to sleep right now, and I'm not going to show off any fall color for you until next spring. And so you just kind of, it's just you're picking up on that. Take advantage of it and try to turn it around. So go ahead and fertilize it. But if you've got any kind of off color right now, fertilize with the all-purpose food and soil sulfur at the same time. That'll help you. That'll really bring out and kind of correct this thing.
Yep.
That's all we got time for this segment. Be right back.
Watters Garden companion plants for September are Raywood ash, Russian sage, honeysuckle, and ivory feathers pampas grass.
Ivory feathers is a dwarf pampas grass that blends perfectly into desert landscapes.
The ivory plumes reach overhead height for architectural style around patios and ponds.
Well suited as a visual barrier or hedge in the far reaches of the yard.
You will find only the brightest grasses here at Watters Garden Center.
Shop in-store or online at wattersgardencenter.com. There is still plenty of time to get your fall plants ready for their show. First of all, the best flowers are end of September through October. I mean, the best roses, the best, just they're over the top. In fact, you should probably deadhead your roses, fertilize them, and they'll pop right back into full bloom. The best flowers are this time of year because it's so cool. They hold their flowers so much longer than when they are in the summer. In the spring, they get bugs, so thrip and aphids are out. In the summer, it's hot, but in the fall, we don't have the bug pressure, and it's nice and cool. So plants bloom longer, bigger flowers, more flowers. You can really juice the flower gardens this time of year just by picking off the old spent flowers and then fertilizing them and watch them pop. And you're going to fertilize them with the 744 all-purpose plant food. It's going to make them pop. It's got to lower the pH, bring out the colors and the fragrance, because it's got the bird guano that makes them kind of grow some. It's got the cottonseed meal that makes them bloom bigger. So that's your stuff. If it's in a container grows a little different. Containers, you're fertilizing more regularly because they drain so fast. There, I use the Flower Power. It's a water soluble. It's got a 1 scoop per gallon. And I'll fertilize my container gardens every other week. And it just makes them bloom like crazy. It's 48% phosphorus. That's that middle number, 48%. It's as high as I could go and still keep that phosphorus liquid. After that, it starts to kind of coagulate, kind of settle in the bottom. But at 48%, it's available to that plant like now. So if you want bigger flowers, more tomatoes, that middle number also produces fruits, more peppers, more cucumbers, more. If you want more flowers and fruits, give it that Flower Power every other week or so. Oh, it just really makes a difference. Keep pushing them. Push those plants through the end of this month, actually, and you can get actually more color. For those plants that are a little yellow, a little off, shrubs, I'm thinking amber maples, chase trees, aspens, maples. If they aren't a deep, just rich green, you should be adjusting those right now with the same thing. Fertilize them. And what I would do with your bigger plants, because that's usually a pH thing, I would give them some soil sulfur as well. Soil sulfur it makes things more acidic. And everything likes more acidity here in the mountains of Arizona because our ground is just so alkaline. It's so opposite of what they really want. They want more acidic, and they're just being delivered all the time. Your water is very alkaline. It's because we have all this ash in our soil. So, Thumb Butte is an old volcano core. All the ash that was around that volcano core is now settling. Well, now we're gardening in that. Glassford Hills, that's an old volcano. All the ash, we're now gardening in that. In all of our water's coming up through all that ash, and it taints the soil, the water. It makes it very alkaline. You're going to want to try to compensate for that every time you fertilize. It's a game changer. But you should really encourage bright green or rich green. You want green. And if the foliage is green, when it does turn into fall, so the end of this month, October, really, it'll really enrich the bright reds, the bright purples, the rich oranges, the aspen golds. It'll bring out that color that you really want out of that fall garden. It'll make your flowers bloom better. Your pansies echinaceas and gaillardias and all your bulbs will make them, your dahlias can be brighter, bigger, better when the soil is more acidic. And the way you do that, when you're fertilizing at the same time, add soil sulfur, especially if the plants aren't a rich green. Now, some of you've corrected that. Once you get it corrected, you're just consistent with the fertilizer. There's some soil sulfur in the fertilizer I make, that 744 all-purpose food. There's some in there. And once you get it green, you can just stabilize. Once you get it stabilized, just keep consistent with that food, and that'll be enough. You won't have to use soil sulfur nearly as often. I basically only use sulfur in the spring, and that's it. But I've corrected, so my plants look really healthy. I mean, it's gonna be the best fall reds that I've seen in years. They just look really good. They've had some real rich growth on the foliage. An insider tip for your evergreens: they've got a aluminum sulfate. It's sulfur with aluminum. If you give them that will bring out that rich silver bloom, and it just makes your deodar cedars they'll be blue, not green, with that yellow hue. It'll be blue with a green hue. It's a game changer. Your Colorado spruce will be silvery blue because it's picking up that aluminum. You're lowering the pH and it's picking up the aluminum at the same time, and it just coats the foliage with this bright aluminum, kind of platinum colored. It just really is striking. You can really play with. It's fun as a gardener to play with the chemistry and the fertilizers of the plants to really bring out the most health, the most beauty out of those plants. Well, we got a lot more in store for you. Got to take a quick break, pay a couple bills. We'll be right back after this. Hi, Ken at Watters with our Monster Monsoon Sale, our only sale of the year.
Truckloads of fresh autumn maple, aspen, and spruce have just arrived, and we need room, so summer plants must go.
Perennials, trees, shrubs, even pottery must go, and it's worth your while with plant sales at 25, 45, even 65% off.
It's Watters' only sale of the year at Watters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Where people who love great plants at sale prices, they love to shop. And we're back with Lisa Watters Lain in the studio. She's got this segment all to herself. Comes up with a topic. She takes pressure off of me, having to come up with 6 topics for every show, every week. Can be kind of a brain drain sometimes, especially if you're tired, you've been unloading trucks or teaching other classes or writing columns. You're going, okay, different hat. We're going to put on a creative radio hat, a podcast hat, and be entertaining in front of the camera. Woo! So she takes a piece of that and kind of takes the edge off. Plus, I think there's too many men talking radio show stuff, talking plants, and we need
just
that
too
female
many
touch. Seems like we need more female radio just garden information in general. And so she's my sweeter, better, prettier side, smarter side, been doing this for longer side. Why not put Lisa on the radio?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. What do you got for us this
So
week?
last week we talked about fall flowers, those flowers that just look fabulous in the garden in late summer, early fall.
Fabulous fall foliage.
There you ooh. Yeah. So this week I wanted to talk about ornamental grasses. It's another one of those plants that really starts to shine late summer, early fall, through winter. Those ornamental grasses are just terrific out in the landscapes. And I, for one, think they're way underused in a lot of our landscapes around here.
A lot of places don't know how, like Phoenix, they don't use grass. Tropical climates like Palm Springs, Tucson, California, they don't use grasses, but the Midwest, they know how to use grasses really well. The mountains, Denver really knows how to use grasses. Wyoming, Boise, they really know.
New Mexico is pricey.
They're very good. They're very drought hardy, deep rooted. They got a palm tree kind of root mass. They wave in the wind. They got a lot going on, but they don't look good during the peak of the spring season. They're just coming up. They're not blooming. They're blooming now. So they're more inspirational. I think that's several reasons.
I agree. So the great thing about ornamental grasses is they do add interest into
Yeah.
the late summer, early fall garden. So some of your things are just kind of, they're tired.
Yeah.
They're like, it's been a
The
long
grass.
summer. I'm ready to go to bed. But the grasses are just waking up and going, I'm excited. I'm going to plume. I'm going to be beautiful. So they really add a lot of interest. They also add a lot of texture into your garden. You know,
Yeah.
some of us just, everything's evergreen. Everything's got leaves on it, and we don't have a lot of variance in the yard. Well, those grasses just add more texture out there into the yard.
Yeah.
And there are grasses that will go in the shade. Some of the mondo grasses and those, it's hard getting old. Anyways, there's some grasses that really like shady spots, but most of them are going to like that full sun, those kind of hot spots out in your yard. So great to put in. And also, like you said, they can be very drought hardy once they're established out in the yard. So, and they're also not a lot of maintenance.
Oh, very little. You mow them down in the winter, and then that's it. Fertilize.
Right. So you're kind of cutting them back, and then they come back up the next year. So you're not doing the heavy pruning. You're not messing with them mid-season. So they really add to that low maintenance yard out there.
I find the birds love them too. So they make nests. If you're into attracting birds or any kind of feathered friends back there, they love the grasses. They're using them to nest.
They do. And they'll use them through the fall and winter too, because they'll use them to kind of hide in through the season. They'll use the seed heads for food. So they're great for attracting the birds.
Everyone should have at least 3 different varieties of grass. And Lisa's going to tell us which ones.
Oh, no, I'm still talking about them. The other thing about them is they're also very animal resistant. Everybody thinks, oh, I can't put a grass in because I have deer or I have javelina. They are surprisingly animal resistant. There's not a lot of grasses that they'll just go out there and eat. They leave them alone.
Yeah, deer grass is famous. It's a native. Bear grass, it's famous. It's a native. Javelina, deer, rabbits, they don't bother those. Antelope, they're going to bother them.
Right. So many good reasons to be putting those grasses out there. And like you said, there are quite a few. So there, if you want small grasses, that's where you stay in your blue fescue. So blue fescue is great for lining perennial beds on a walkway, kind of to soften that walkway. It has that real pretty blue-gray, I just combined it, blue-gray foliage to it. So it's just very soft, very attractive. Does that stay green in the winter?
It can brown out. It stays blue for an amazingly long time, but eventually it
gets more of a winter color too.
Yeah, it can have a hue to it. If you clean it up, fertilize it, it'll start growing again in February. It comes right back with a vengeance. Right.
The other thing, blue fescue is great in containers too. So if you're doing some fall containers with your mums and pansies, throw a fescue in there. It actually is very pretty out there in your fall containers. So we also have things like Carl Forester, which is probably one of my favorite grasses. It's one of the first ones to kind of green up and to bloom, and it puts on kind of a nice little wheat stalky kind of flower to it.
Chest high, not chest high, but maybe hip high or so. Yeah, something like that.
I would say 3 to 4 foot, and then it sends the plumes up on top of that. I noticed in our yard, it's one of our favorite things for our dogs to eat.
That's true. So animals will eat that one. It's a little sweet tasting, but it's one of the only ones.
Yeah. I mean, and they go munch on it, and you'd never know. Of course, they're small dogs, but it doesn't seem to bother the plant at all. It's just as green and healthy, and they like it too.
If you're following on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those things, TikTok, follow Watters Garden Center. And I did I was at our display gardens, and I have switchgrass and one on Carl Foresters. How they are used in the landscape is spectacular. I got a new camera, having fun with it. Just some great angles. And it's kind of exciting to play with. But if you want to see how to use those at maturity, just tune in, watch. They will be showing up on our social media sites very quickly.
Switchgrass is another, you mentioned that. It is a really pretty grass, and its plume is kind of just a real fine, feathery, really pretty when the wind kind of hits it and it sways. Another one like that is the muhly grass, which stays a little bit shorter, I think, than the switchgrass, but puts on that kind of anywhere from cream to pink to almost dark purple, depending on the variety you get. Beautiful when the sun kind of hits it from behind. It's starting to go down, the wind swaying. You want to sing, what's that song? The
Kumbaya. You just went into breaking the song, and here she is.
Well, they talk about the waves of grain.
Oh,
Anyways, it makes
gotcha.
me think of it. Sorry,
Yeah.
brain's not all there. But just a real pretty light grass. So ivory feathers, we probably ought to or pampas grass.
Mhm.
So we carry ivory feathers because it's just better in the
It's a
landscape.
better grass. It's a
It's just
better
a better
pampas grass.
grass. It's more compact. It just plumes better. It's just a nicer than the old fashioned pampas grass that used to be out there.
Costs a little bit, couple dollars more, but you get $50 more plant. It's just less maintenance, better plumes. There's a lot going on for it than that traditional huge monster of a grass. It's better.
Yeah, very, very attractive out there in the yard. You got to have some space for it.
Yeah,
and I like them kind of planted in one by itself. You kind of go, oh, yeah. But put 3 or 4 or 5 out there if you got the space. Absolutely gorgeous.
It's a good screening or privacy type of grass. It's big enough. Gets up head high, and then the plumes are above that.
Yeah.
So it's an impressive, and it's that thick. So it's a good plant.
Definitely. One of my other favorites that I just really learned to love is the porcupine grass. And I like this one because
I like my grass like my men.
Different?
Porcupine. No, pokey, or I don't know.
Weird looking.
Interesting. It goes into voice while on the radio.
So most grasses, when they're variegated, it's more vertical.
Yeah.
It goes across this strand there. Porcupine is horizontal.
Yeah.
So it has a stripe of green, stripe of white, stripe of green, stripe of white. Yeah. It's just really cool out there.
Really interesting.
And porcupine does get fairly tall. I was kind of surprised. It says 8 foot, probably here, less
Chest
than
high.
that. Yeah. But wouldn't that look cool up against like a back of a fence or the
anywhere.
back of a perennial bed, things like that?
That property line right up against the property line would be fantastic. And it's got a bright spot, so more shaded areas, so east and west facing would be beautiful.
Right.
Another one I like is our bunny grass. We got in this beautiful cobalt blue urn.
Oh, that's
bunny grass.
It's a fountain grass. It's a curly fountain grass, actually.
Yeah.
It is. And it looks beautiful. So that's one thing I was going to mention is a lot of these grasses you can grow in containers. And they do fabulous containers. Put some pansies around it for the fall. It'd be really
Lisa,
pretty.
we are out of time. So thank you for sharing some ornamental grasses that can be planted right now for years of enjoyment. Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners.
Watters Garden companion plants for September are Russian sage, pampas grass, honeysuckle, and raywood ash.
Raywoods are superior shade trees for wind and drought locations.
Plant as a single specimen or in a grove for more widespread shade on hot south and western exposures.
Dark green foliage forms the perfect round head with leaves that turn a magical wine red through autumn.
We sell only the prettiest shade trees at Watters Garden Center. Shop in-store or online at wattersgardencenter.com.
If you have been struggling with the drought, heat, water, rain, I know we've had some rain this week, but the landscapes in the North Country, they're dry. They've been really struggling to keep up. And so maybe it's time to start thinking in terms of xeric, native, drought hardy, things that will take this long stretches of heat and dry, and then all of a sudden these deluges of rain and then dry again. And there's a whole series of plants that will take that. They just upgraded this Central Highlands, that's kind of west of Sedona, up here, Cordis Junction, Prescott Valley, Prescott, Chino, Paulden, this whole Dewey area. They changed this from a zone 7B to a zone 8. Now, what does that mean? Zones, garden zones throughout the country, you're in a garden zone. And it's how cold does it get in the winter? They track this. And over 20 years, it's a 20-year average. So look at the last 20 years, what's the average temperature, and that's your zone. And so over the last 20 years, they just moved us up. We are now 5 degrees warmer than we were 20 years ago. What does that mean to your plants? Well, it means you can grow more deserty kind of things that will take the heat. It also means that your cold hardy stuff can get damaged. So they need the cold. Some plants actually want the cold. They need it. And if it's warmer than normal, they can be damaged. And those same plants can have damage in the summer when it's just sheer hot. If your drip irrigation's off even a little bit, you don't run it a few days more, you haven't tuned up your irrigation where you're spreading out those emitters, adding some emitters. That plant, which was 2 years ago, 3-4 years ago, fine with 2 emitters on there. Now it's not, because now it's grown up and bigger, and now you'll see some brown spots, leaf burn, the tips will burn off. It's just struggling. A branch, a section will die off because that section didn't have enough moisture to keep it going. And so you're seeing this stress in your neighborhood. What to do? We'll change to things that will take that kind of drought. They're more drought hardy. There's some plants that are deeper rooted or more fibrous root mass. So we've got, we just had a load of Joshua trees come in. Now, Joshua trees are not really a tree. It's a tree yucca. So it's a yucca that keeps growing these branches, kind of like a palm tree. It just looks like a miniature palm tree, only much more cold hardy. So a Joshua tree will go down to, I think they're zone 6B. So it'll go down to 0 degrees. They love the heat, but they have a real fibrous root mass. So they're pulling out every bit of moisture anywhere in that soil. They're going to grab it. And so if you put that in there, I would say I wouldn't even put those on a drip irrigation system. They would prefer to go dry. They hold moisture up in their trunks, down in their roots, got real thick, fleshy root structures to them. And we've got some tall ones that are taller than you and I. They're specimens. They're just spectacular. I've got a Spanish dagger yucca. This one's on steroids. It's really cool. It's a kind of a real stiff tined yucca. It's got big green, thick, lacy. It's like an artichoke agave, only in tree form. So artichoke agave it's a century plant. You're seeing these things grow up, gigantic flowers right now around town. They're 10, 12, 15 feet tall. This is a tree that it looks like that, only it's up on a trunk. The trunk, you can sort of wrap your arms around it. They've been trimmed up, but then this is beautiful, spiky, upright, gets a white flower in spring. It's very pretty. Those things I would not put on a drip system. You'll tend to overwater them out in the clay soil areas. I would tend to mound them up slightly to keep them out of the moisture, to keep them out of that clay. And so there's some plants that would take the heat and just thrive. And yuccas are one of those. Agaves are another one. Agaves, there's several varieties. Probably have 3 or 4 or 5 different varieties of agave. Now, these are century plants. I just mentioned they bloom and that tall flower to it. Well, there's several varieties that grow very well here. And there's quite a few varieties that don't. It gets too cold for some of those that are down in Phoenix. Your blue agaves. That's the one they make the tequila out of. I've really tried to get that to grow in my backyard, and I've killed off a couple of them. Just trying. I want to push the limit, see if I can get it. If I can, I'm going to introduce that to the North Country. We've changed one zone from 7 to 8, but we've not changed to 10, which is those guys really like the heat. They like Spanish, like Mexican Sonoran desert type of heat. That's not the mountain country. So we can have, I don't know how many agaves, 100 varieties. There's probably 10 that grow up here that'll take our cold winters, but also our hot summers. And so you can plant those now, perfectly fine. They're evergreen. They look good year round. But again, I don't know that I would put an agave on a drip system. I would just put it, and then when you remember, go ahead and water it. Otherwise, let it go dry. It likes that kind of, if you've struggled having plants, keeping them looking pristine, there's a whole series of plants that do well up here. Cotoneaster or Cottoneaster, as some people will say it. That plant, there's some native varieties up here. So we've got the native one, the gray leafed one, but we've also got the bigger ones. And so there's all of them will do exceptionally well. Look at those, Mahonia or Oregon grape. That's another native, grows wild here. It looks like holly. Sometimes they'll call it Oregon grape holly because the leaf looks like a holly leaf. but it's got such a waxy leaf to it, and it's got a real fleshy root structure. It just keeps looking really good. With that one, there's, let's see, 3 different varieties, heights, basically. There's hip high, knee high, and ground cover, so ankle high. So look at it that way. They're all equally as hardy. So they're plant the one you like. Just got a new variety of manzanita. You know manzanita is going to do great here. No matter the heat, no matter the cold, it's going to just thrive. It's got that red bark to it, evergreen leaf that's kind of the size of a dime, gets those bell-shaped flowers in the spring. If you're struggling, put some hardier things in. So the climate is changing. For why, I don't know, don't want to discuss that. But I know that the gardens, some plants that were fine 20 years ago are struggling now. So you may have to remodel. If you're seeing some ugly plants, they're probably not going to get better at this point. You're going to struggle to keep it going further. So either tune up your irrigation, add some extra emitters out there to try to give it some more moisture, or it's time for change. Have some differences out there. I've got some new cactus that came in, some hardy, cold hardy cacti. Now, not saguaros. They don't grow up at this altitude, but there's some that are upright like that do grow up here. There's several varieties of opuntia, which is a prickly pear cactus. There's real tall ones, short ones, ground cover, some with purple tinges. You can have fun with them. There's all kinds of choyas or teddy bear cactus. So I've got the hedgehog cactus, which is the cute little mounding cactus, gets maybe ankle high, gets these cute little purple flowers, purple pink flowers to it. Got some great big clusters of them. So there's probably 20, 30 of these hedgehog cactus that kind of clump up together. You can plant that. We've even put them in a paper container. So you put them in the ground, you put the container and all in the ground, just the roots will go through that paper. It kind of decomposes. So you don't have to wrestle these cacti. We're trying to get better at making it easier to plant them. And so hedgehog cactus. So if you're struggling, you're seeing a lot of that in the landscape right now. You're starting to see fall will start showing up pretty quick. If plants are stressed out at all, they will put themselves to bed early. And so they'll start turning their fall color. And, well, I've been struggling a little bit. I think I'll just, I don't feel well. I'm going to go lay down, go to sleep, and I'll wake up next spring. And so that's an indication that you may have a stressed out plant. Fertilize them, take care of them, tune up that irrigation. It makes a big, big, big difference. And so you can plant now. So if you wanted to remodel, this is a great time. The ground is soiled. The soil is warm. We've had some moisture. There's some humidity. Things just root so quick right now. It's a great time to plant in the landscape. Fall is one of your best times to plant because of that. And so especially your native-y, drought-hardy stuff. So anyway, we'll be right back. Got another segment to go after this. Watters garden companion plants for September are pampas grass, honeysuckle, raywood ash, and lacy blue Russian sage.
Lacy blue Russian sage is a Watters preferred perennial for its compact form that doesn't flop over in the landscape like others.
The spiky blue flowers bloom summer through fall with aromatic foliage detestable to all animals.
Simply stunning at the edge of dry stream beds mixed with wildflowers.
Shop in-store or online at wattersgardencenter.com. So if you are new to gardening and you're not used to 4-season climate, so mainly it's a desert climate, or you're just from tropical Hawaii kind of stuff, this is a 4-season climate. And so we'll actually have seasonal changes at the garden center of the product mix, the plants that are grown. You won't find some plants in fall that are there in spring, and vice versa. The summer plants are not here in winter. So we're now starting to get that very distinctive fall or autumn mix. And so lots of maples and the great aspen golds, the oranges, the purples. What a 4-season climate is famous for, along with all the grasses. The grasses look their best. This is the huge pampas grass. I'm not talking lawns. I'm talking about ornamental decorative grasses. And so we've been selling the summer one. So bear grass, you folks, bears like lions and tigers, and bear grass. We've had that one all along. It's been in bloom since summer. It's a summer bloomer. But all the fall blooming plants, shrubs are here too. So the grasses, so switchgrass, fountain grass, Mexican feather grass, Pampas grass, coral forester grass, all the grasses, they look their best this time. And this is when you plant them. So this is kind of the peak window. This is one of the best times to plant a shade tree or an evergreen. We just got some beautiful, just as pretty as I've ever seen. I've been doing this for decades, of pine trees, Austrian pines. Oh, they're full, they're chubby, they're tall. They're just beautiful. And they like to be planted now. So there's a seasonal change. There's crop rotations. The perennial flowers, they actually are bigger. They're bolder. Yeah, we had some echinaceas in the spring where they were kind of wispy and thin and barely coming out of the bucket, and they hardly had a flower. Now they're standing 2 feet tall, covered in dozens of flowers, and they almost glow. They're just so beautiful. And there's a whole lot more. So you'll see this ebb and flow of the different plants. That's why if you're new to gardening, you want to visit a garden center more than just in the spring, because what you'll get is the spring mix, and you'll miss out on the summer, fall, and winter mixes. So it's kind of good to see the new things coming in. And then those things, they're not going to be there. I have to guess how many I think we're going to sell in that block of window. And when we're out, because it took 2 years to grow some of these grasses. So I had to plan in 2022 to guess how many of these things we might want. We might want that now. Trees the same way, perennials. So some of these things some crops really fast. Annuals, they take 6 weeks. They're easy. That's why box stores, they mainly focus on annuals. It's a quick rotation, but perennials take at least a 2-year commitment when you're growing those. And so you'll see this different product mix. We show these things off every Saturday. If you're interested, we have free garden classes every Saturday at 9:30. They go through October. Then we take a little break, then come back at it with the pruning session, the winter mix in January. So I basically need a break in November and December. So it's for me, not for you. So we'll have garden classes every Saturday here at Watters Garden Center at 9:30. Kind of hang out. There'll be 30, 40 people at a class, another 30 or 50 watching it online. So they're an hour long. Please join us. You're hanging out with other gardeners, which is kind of fun. Other than that, throughout the week, Lisa and I, we camp out here at Watters Garden Center, and we do really enjoy talking plants with local gardeners. Come visit.
Watters Garden companion plants for September are Raywood ash, Russian sage, honeysuckle, and ivory feathers pampas grass.
Ivory feathers is a dwarf pampas grass that blends perfectly into desert landscapes.
The ivory plumes reach overhead height for architectural style around patios and ponds.
Well suited as a visual barrier or hedge in the far reaches of the yard.
You will find only the brightest grasses here at Watters Garden Center.
Shop in-store or online at wattersgardencenter.com. For a more fruitful garden, increase success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit wattersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Watters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.